Welcome to my raise room. Therapists and their clients come here, and therapists love this because clients who suffer from anger management stress, they come here and have a good time. As you see, pretty big room. There's stuff in here to break. If you've ever been to a raise room, you can pick up things, throw them against the wall. You can also, over here, take a bat and break things. Everything here is breakable, so this is a great example of creating really fun things and environments. That can also help with stress and all types of things. So use your creativity, think of ways that you can help your community.
Hello to all of our phenomenal viewers, listeners, and supporters. I am your host, Brianna, podcast Bree Harris, and I am so excited to be here. If you're a new audience member, we are so grateful to have you. Welcome to another episode of Connected, where we discuss all things mental health, recovery, and employment and stories. Before we dive in, the show is sponsored by Contra Costa Behavioral Health Services, Kaiser, and John Muir. Meet Terrance Williams, the visionary behind Meta Wellness, a groundbreaking platform that creates virtual reality experiences significantly designed for therapists and everyday people. With a staggering 90% success rate, his work is transforming the way mental health care is delivered. Inspired by the profound impact of Alzheimer's on his beloved grandmother, Terrance dedicated 3 years to mastering coding and develop immersive environments that foster healing and connection. Today, he also shares his expertise as an educator, teaching a self-paced 7-week course at New Mexico State University, empowering the next generation of innovators. Join us as we dive into his journey, the technology behind Meta Wellness, and the incredible potential of virtual reality in mental health care. Let's get started. Welcome, Terrance Williams.
I'm just taking in from that intro. That was pretty amazing.
I wrote it myself.
That was awesome. I appreciate it. But hello, thank you for having me. And yeah, you let everybody know who I am. That's pretty much the gist.
That's who you are. That's why we have these calls prior to build up the rapport, and I get to just do all my research on you and
Oh yeah, you
introduce
did.
you. So we're not spending the whole time on the podcast getting to know each other. Everybody
Right,
knows
right.
you.
All
Yeah.
right, right. I appreciate it.
Terrance, how you doing this morning?
I'm good. It's pretty sunny out today, and got a lot of things coming up. You mentioned my course, so I'm pretty excited about that.
Mhm.
We launched like a week or two ago to October 7th. So, oh no, so it's like almost like a month ago. So we've been doing that, and we're just getting a lot of people just excited about it, and pretty excited to where it's going, and a lot of other stuff coming up too. So don't want to give away too much, but yeah.
Yeah, we'll talk about it on the episode. But I'm
Yeah.
excited. You have a lot of things coming up. That was actually one of my questions. But I just want to get started with, well, first of all, we're all the way in California. Terrance is in sunny Florida. It's kind of sunny out here too. But yeah, that's why we're having the Zoom call. I wish he was here in person, but this was a cool experience to do and set up. And now that I know that it's possible, and it doesn't have to have like the ugly Zoom background
Now
of
anything's
it.
possible, right?
Yeah, technology.
Yeah.
So first of all, of course, I'm gonna ask, how are you taking care of your mental health?
So I'm a pretty straightforward thinker and just kind of guy. Like when it comes to my mental health, I think I'm pretty simple. So I just find things that just make me smile throughout the day. So some of the things that I do is just play Call of Duty, and it's just one of my fun activities. But also building this VR is also was I found it when I first started doing it, it was so therapeutic.
Hmm.
So but just being in there, just hours just building on something, whether I'm building a house or school or just like an office, is very therapeutic as well too. So I would say those two things keep me pretty grounded. And I think, that's kind of the difference when it comes to how I think, men and women like go through habit therapy.
Hmm.
Women, naturally they go to therapy and they look for, that coercion, somebody to talk to, that conversation. And then men, we kind of find happiness doing, barbaric things like, shooting somebody at Call of Duty. So it's
I'm glad
very
that you
therapeutic.
and I'm glad that you mentioned it because like sit down therapy doesn't work for everybody. And the fact that you are changing the game to where you could have therapy sessions in virtually anywhere is pretty cool, and it's tailored. And it's funny, I was just speaking with one of the members who was just here. I don't know where he went, but one of our members here, I was explaining to him what you do, and he was like, "Do you think that's going to help with my anxiety?" And I was just like, "Well, if you envision a safe space somewhere that makes you feel very safe and comfortable, and then he could possibly design it, and then it might work for you." But
Right.
it's pretty
There
cool.
you go.
It's a really cool concept. But I'm trying
Look
to
at
think if
you.
I know, right? I should be your
Look at me
spokesperson.
getting on the tech wagon. I love it.
I've already introduced you well, man.
Yeah, I
I'm out here
appreciate that,
just telling
man.
everybody
Look,
about you.
you're a believer. I
I
get it.
should be your
A
spokesperson.
lot of people are afraid of tech, man. Elon
Yeah.
came with these robots, and people just think iRobot's about to happen to everybody,
Yeah,
and
'cause I think so
but
too.
you're embracing the tech. I love it.
Ah, to a certain extent,
To
to a certain
understand?
extent, it's scary. It is scary, and I think it's mostly because it's blurring the lines of like what's real and what's not. And I say that because when you're online, and then now you have like these bots in the comments, you don't know if these are real people, who are spreading certain narratives. There's also just the aspect of like when people make videos and it's like a skit, but you don't know if it's real, and they're trying to pose to see if it's,
Yeah.
trying to make it seem like it's real and it's really a skit, or just like the AI images. So yeah, it's scary if you're not educated and if you don't know and you can't decipher what's real and what's not. So
That's a good
I'm
point.
embracing it to a certain extent, but I'm
Have
still like,
you've heard of The Sims, right? The game, The Sims game.
yeah,
So they're actually trying to put AI in the Sims game. So, these people that are going to be in the Sims game, they're going to have consciousness. And it's just like they're
I
going
don't
to be
like
in there,
it.
like, they're going to be like, who am I? What am I? So it kind of gives you a notion of like what is real because to them
Hmm.
it's going to be real. And, the big bang for them is when the power goes off. So,
Yeah.
dang.
It's giving very Westworld. You ever seen Westworld?
Oh, yeah, I love Westworld.
Of course you love
I'm here for
Westworld.
iRobot, Westworld, Terminator. Well, not Terminator,
It's
but
giving very Westworld. I don't like it. But I mean, I feel like if used responsibly, then it could do some wonders. You never know.
yeah, I don't know. Yeah, you don't sound as hopeful anymore. So
We'll see.
it's way backwards. Well, I got you.
We'll see. So, I mean, you have, like I said in the intro, you taught yourself how to code, or you learned how to code
Yeah,
for about 3 years. And then I know that you have stated in other podcasts, like you've never claimed to be a mental health professional. I feel like that's important to state. And
yeah,
that you went to school for business. And
yeah, yeah.
so you're not diagnosing anyone, you're not telling anyone what's best for them. It's just like you give me the vision and I will see it through kind of thing.
Yeah, that's absolutely right. Like I'm definitely not professional. I call myself an advocate. And the people when I first started, people just in the mental health profession, they came to me and just had these ideas. So I just
Mhm.
started building them. And not even just mental health professionals. I got a email from a mom one day and she said that her son was suffering from anorexia and he doesn't had trouble eating and all these types of things. And she asked me to build a platform to where I basically make a replica of her kitchen and then we put a burger in there and as he like takes the burger and puts it up like and takes a bite out of it, it'll start slowly going away to try to
Mhm.
get him to learn how to eat again. So
Mhm.
again, I didn't diagnose him. I didn't do any of these things, but I just like you mentioned before, just put the vision together and try to help as much as I can.
Hmm. I feel like that's pretty cool because ultimately it's not like you're in charge, you're giving them the option. Like what is the safest space for you? Or like you said, you made the assimilation of his kitchen, so he was familiar with that. So I feel
Yeah.
like that's very important. And so before you already kind of answered one of them, but like can you share some statistics on the success rate? Because you could tell us like, oh, it works. And I had this example, but do you have like some statistics that prove that?
Oh yeah, absolutely. It'd be crazy not to. So we're so like with PTSD, for example, we're seeing like reports up to the 90% when people actually getting cured from their whole post-traumatic stress. And that
Hmm.
comes from people that were like war veterans, people that come into like really bad car accidents, muggings, things like that. When it comes to anxiety and depression, it's usually around 66 to 60, like 7%.
Hmm.
Bounces back and forth from that. But and then even victims when it comes to like let's say like burnt victims that suffer those type of traumas, we see that putting them into their that type of platform lowers that their symptoms of just feeling how to say uneasy or just the whole pain of whatever just happened because they just got burnt. So you put them in a simulation where there's something like very cooling, like an ice field or a snowy mountain, things of that
Mm-hmm.
nature. And we see them using those type of situations that their pain level goes down by 30%.
Mm. And how is that measured? Like, how do you know it's down by 30%?
So they do a lot of different things. So when they do the study, so they'll take like a group of people where that have done to like burnt victims, and
Mm-hmm.
they'll measure their level of stress and like let's say like their heart rate and where they are at, and then they'll go over, and it's usually around 6 weeks is how long they usually do it, and then afterwards they just measure their stress level after that time.
Okay, that makes sense. So with great success also comes great failures. And I do feel like it's important to talk about that because you don't want to get on here and say, yeah, it works. And I know it works because of this, but like you've also had to go through some trials and tribulations. I know people thinking you're a scammer too. So like what are some things that you have had to endure with creating this and any kind of failures that you went through?
Well, I would say the first aspect of is finding people to really opt in. So if you're working with a lot of like low, like smaller practices, and you're
Mm-hmm.
asking them to not just buy a platform, but also like buy headsets, usually they typically can't, do one or the other or both. So when I first started Mental Wellness, that was the idea. Like, let me see how many of these therapists and et cetera, mental health professionals, life coaches would actually be interested in using this. I got some sales that okay, but it wasn't enough to like literally like just pay the bills and things of that nature. But I proved that people were interested in buying it. So that's when I started branching off and started working with like larger corporations, like my partnership with New Mexico State University, for example, and building these other things and these other ideas. So that's where I would come from. But I would say that the biggest failure was probably just, not having enough support, like people that are actually able to afford,
Yeah.
platforms.
Mm-hmm.
You have these larger corporations, they can, but the smaller practices they can't. So,
Mm-hmm.
and my whole thing is, and I was telling somebody this other day, I was like, the whole idea of it is just to have another option. You can have a whole bunch of options to deal with schizophrenia, but having VR as another option is just as beneficial. So you want to have as many options as possible.
Mm-hmm. And I know you mentioned that we talked about a couple weeks ago is the that you're numb to no. And you've gotten so many no's that it's just like, okay, whatever, what's next, you know? And I feel like
Yeah,
that's important when you're building something or just when you're creating anything and you're putting it out to the world, be okay with someone saying no and not getting butt hurt over it if you must, and just
yeah.
like, all right, it doesn't work for you, it's gonna work for somebody else, and let's just keep it moving.
Oh yeah, thousands of no's, honestly, and
Hmm.
even the ones that were yeses and ended up becoming no's because of budgeting or just not the right time. So
Hmm.
you go through that for a while, but you start learning that you kind of just learn from it. Like, okay, that's why I kind of went from the smaller to like the bigger corporation because they could afford it more. But there was a lot
Yeah.
of no's from like smaller. They're very interested. They had a lot of people that really want to do it. So
Hmm.
be able to impact them. And that's actually something that I'm trying to work with the University of Pittsburgh and another nonprofit organization out there. We're talking about creating a VR platform where we can combat tuberculosis, but give it to so people that are like in underrepresented communities, like in Cape Town and Africa, but also in lower struggling underrepresented communities in Pittsburgh. Be able to give them a platform where they can learn how to treat and be able to track things like that with tuberculosis, but able to provide it to people that can't afford it. So I'm eager to see how that's going to go. That's going to hopefully that'll be exciting. But yeah, so that's the idea is to make it available for anybody.
Mm. Yeah, and I'm glad you touched on that because that was definitely one of my other questions. Can you break down like what your pricing looks like? So if to be able to just build one, is it 39.99 or am I
So yeah,
misinformed?
so when I first did Meta Wellness, I had two different ways. You can have the platforms, which I would build out for anywhere between 250 to $500. But
Hmm.
also we had people that were renting platforms. So I had people
Okay.
that literally didn't want to necessarily pay $500 for a platform, so they will literally just rent out the space, and that
Hmm.
usually was like 39.99. But that was like a cancel free subscription thing.
Hmm.
But as of now, I don't typically market to the small ones unless somebody like branches out and reaches to me. Then we'll do that. But as of now, we're going like bigger picture, kind of in a sense. But I still do like build. I actually had someone that asked for a platform the other day, so I still do those for around 250 to 500.
Okay. Do you have any plans to, and I know it's kind of hard to price yourself because you're like, I put in the work. This is my baby. This is my creativity. I gotta pay the bills. Like I totally understand that.
Yeah, absolutely.
I had a small business as well. And I had a guy, my product was like $15. And this guy was like, I got 10 for you. And I was like, that's not the price. And he was like, I'm just trying to help you out. I'm like, you're not helping me out.
Yeah,
You're not
yeah,
doing me any favors, trying to
yeah,
undermine, the work that goes into it. And I'm like, people usually pay more for that. But it was insulting to me because the fact that you thought you were doing me a favor.
yeah.
And it is kind of hard to put a price on art. I know we have an artist out here. I don't know if you ever heard of him. His name is LaRussell, but he offers like pay what you want. And so he talks about like anything for his concerts, any merchandise is like, pay what you want. And it has been a big success. And other companies in the Bay Area have kind of taken on to that approach as well, because it's like everybody gets to be able to you get to put a price on what it really means to you. But that
Right.
doesn't necessarily work for everybody. Like you said, I got bills to pay, so I don't have the
Yeah,
backing that this person might have,
yeah,
and
yeah.
to be able to do that. But I feel like it's a great approach. But all to say is, do you have any ways that you are possibly feeling like making this affordable, or do you have any funders or any like support from the state of Florida to help you progress this? Like, what does that look like? I'm
That's a
sorry if
good
that's a
question.
loaded question.
That's a good question. I would say for the most part, like it's just me,
Mm-hmm.
but I am very well. There's a lot of things that are I would say are coming that where it's like a lot of big names and things of that nature want to get
Mm-hmm.
a part of. So I will say where I was at when I first started, because I went through 3 years of just learning how to build. I spent
Mm-hmm.
probably like 2 years of just like building platforms for like smaller practice things of that nature. To now going to like having my course with the university to having these other things that are possibly coming up. So I will say that it's a lot. The end of the tunnel is a lot closer, I would say, or
Mm-hmm.
maybe it's a lot further away. We'll never know, but it's looking a lot better. I mean,
Yeah, yeah. And that's good. And then I think maybe I don't know if you have established this or how you file, but maybe turning it into a nonprofit, so that because you're doing a service to the community, and I'm trying to use my skills that I've been
yeah,
learning the
yeah,
past
yeah,
couple weeks in school, but like possibly turning it into a nonprofit so that you can get those kind of funders I mean, yeah, just those type of funders and support and backing from your county or your state or what have you
yeah.
could
I think
possibly help.
I think where I kind of struggle, I guess, would say is that I'm so more into just seeing who needs help and
Mm-hmm.
just working
Helping
with
them.
them more so of yeah, turning it into like something that is like 5 million, 10 million, 15. I just love trying to like just build. I love building and I love just working with people. So I guess that's my kind of my Achilles foot is that I'm focused on just working with people and just trying to bring business to life.
Yeah.
But there's definitely there if I actually, and I should have it more because I have a business degree. But what I'm doing now, I just, I just love to where it could go. And it started from I'm thinking that just small practices would just be able to afford it, and then now I'm sitting here with a course at a university. I would never thought that 2 years ago. So I
Hmm.
don't know where it will take me. So, but excited to find out.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, we get it going. We're gonna go. You're
Mhm.
all good. So, a year ago on the Dark Side of Therapy podcast, you stated, I don't know where I'm going. I'm just going. Does this still reign true? And what's next for Meta Wellness?
I mean, yeah. I mean, does anybody really know where they're going? I
No.
mean, you kind of just go, right?
No.
Like
Yeah.
I I think about the story, real quick story. There was a farmer and he had his prize horse ran away one day. And the townspeople came in, they were like, "Oh my God, your prize horse is gone. That's horrible, right?" And he
Hmm.
said, "Maybe." The next day, the horse came back with two other horses, and the townspeople were like, "This is great, right?" And he was like, "Maybe." The next day,
Hmm.
his son gets on one of the horses, the new horses, and he falls off and he breaks his leg. Townspeople say again, like, "This is horrible, right?" And he's like,
Hmm.
"Maybe." And on the last day, there's a war that breaks out, and then the people walk by, but they see his son. He broke his leg, so they couldn't draft him for the war. And again,
Ah,
townspeople are saying like, "This is horrible." He's like,
right.
"Maybe." You don't really know what you're doing is good or bad. You
Hmm.
just know you just got to keep going, and that's just kind of go about it. It's like we'll see. It's like I'll do the best that I can. I
Hmm.
try to make the best decisions as ever and be hold things with integrity and honesty, and then just try to build like beautiful things and platforms and
Hmm.
make connections and where it'll go. You know,
Mhm.
Okay.
I love that because that is so true. Like you just don't know. Like you really don't
Yeah.
know. You don't know when you're in your last days. You just like I was in a job that that wasn't probably the most healthiest for my work environment last year, and I had to just walk away not knowing what was next or where my next job was coming from. Luckily I had a little bit of money to carry me over until I figured something else out, and then ultimately I came across this job, and it's like the perfect role. Like it's doing podcasting. I get to work with people, help them, people who are struggling with their mental illness. So it's a very gratifying job. But if I would have like stressed out, like I don't know what I'm gonna do for work, instead of just letting life happen, I'm like, life's gonna happen, something's gonna come, and then ultimately it came. So maybe that's a better
Yeah.
example.
Well, yeah, it reminds me of this book that I read a little while ago, and I can't remember the name, but there was a little boy, and he was like in a really dark forest,
Hmm.
and he was with his horse, and the boy was like, I can't see where I'm going," and the
Hmm.
horse said, "Can you see your next steps?" And the boy said, "Yeah," and he said, "Just focus on that." So, kind of reminds me of that. Like,
Hmm.
as long as you can see that next step, maybe that's tomorrow, maybe that next day, and you just keep putting that same little effort and that step every day, you'll get out of the forest.
Yeah, I feel it. I feel it. Also, I feel like I'm speaking to our viewers like they already know what I'm talking about when it comes to doing virtually doing therapy in virtual reality. And so can you just explain to us for people that don't know? So you have to have an Oculus headset, or can you do it on the computer? What does that look like?
So that's a great question. I guess it's like, the basis of all this, right? It's like, what
Right.
do you do? Right?
People are like,
Yeah.
what are you even
So,
talking
yeah,
about?
I build with Meta Horizon Worlds. So, Horizon Worlds, they have their own app in the Oculus headset where you can build virtual reality platforms. So, let's say two people have an Oculus. If you have one and I have one, we didn't even have to be in Zoom. You and I can be doing this in the same room, face to face in our avatar state
Hmm.
and a platform, whether it's the office. Like I could literally recreate your entire office back there, your whole podcast. You could do the same thing right there. So I could be virtually doing it with you instead of zooming it with you right now.
Hmm. So you need the headset.
You do need the headsets. Now there are programs where you can do it on the computer and
Hmm.
stuff, but if you want to be in VR, yeah,
Hmm.
gotta get the headset.
Gotta get the headset.
Gotta get that.
Gotcha. I've never put one of those headsets on before.
Yeah, yeah. When you put it on, you'll be like, yeah, you gotta get the headset. When I first put it on,
Yeah.
it gave me goosebumps. Not even gonna lie. I
Oh
was like,
wow.
yeah, I was like, this is wild.
Oh wow. Is there anything else that you want to let us know, tell our viewers about you?
Yeah, I'm Terrance Williams again. Hello. Yeah, if anyone needs a platform, if anyone needs, has ideas, if they wanted to do anything, VR could be a good, outlook or outweigh, or I guess that's the word, whatever I'm trying to say. You know what I'm trying to say. If you think it would be a good thing
Hmm.
to have, holla at your boy. Also, my course, I have 10% off. Use promo code mental health. I'm pretty sure they have a link somewhere. And yeah, the course is great. It teaches you how to build in VR, how to use VR for therapy. You use that badge, use that certification for a lot of different things. That's coming up too as well, like CEUs in the future. And also just experience and showing off, the skills. So
Yeah.
get the course. It's great. And I will see you again soon.
We'll put
Hopefully next time I'll
everything.
be out there though, because
Yes.
yes,
That'd
around
be
two.
pretty cool. And where can they find you before we go?
Oh, where can you find me? Find me on LinkedIn, man. I don't do like the websites and the. I feel like I'm really old school.
You should get a website. I'm just gonna go ahead and say it. Just get the
Yeah.
website, create the website, put the
You hit me. You was
pricing.
like, "Where's your website at?" I
Yeah, I
was
was like, where's
like,
the landing page? What are we
I
doing
felt so.
here?
I was like, "Well, dang." I already noticed about you, but where's your website? I was like, ah. But it's like telling a bit like old school businesses to get like a Facebook. They're like, oh.
Oh gosh. Get
Because
the
I don't want you to
website.
like can't like book. I mean, no, I just if you want to talk to me, just hit me on LinkedIn. Why can't social media be my website?
Get the website. All right, you guys. This has been
All
a
right.
great episode. Thank you so much, Terrance, for being a part of it. And good luck to your future endeavors. We are a fan here at the clubhouse.
Thank you. Thank you.
All right, take care. Have a great one.
Bye.
Bye. See ya.